Okay, so let's get started with our September Physical Committee monthly meeting. Thanks everybody for joining us this month. Have a few things to go over. I hope you can take this call safely. If not, if you have to do drop off and stuff to be safe, please do. And you can always circle back with me on anything you may have missed or didn't get to, whatnot. But again, welcome. I'll start kind of with old business. I went over last month about the charter change with the co-chair position being a non-voting role now. This will allow kind of any member of the consortium hold this role. Previously, it would have been just, utility members and stuff, but wanted to open up for, various reasons, open it up to, to more people. Thus, we made it a non-voting role. So that's consistent throughout all the groups like that. So basically now, instead of having 2 votes each group, they just have 1 from the chairperson, which still is unchanged. Will be, a utility member as the actual chair. So that's really all I had under old business. Any questions on that? Anything I might have missed? Okay, so we'll go on to new business. Kind of with the changes of the co-chair position, we have this year is an election year for our co-chair. Mark Thomas, which I don't see him on the call. He will be, obviously completing his time in November, but he said, due to his things going on with the job and whatnot, he wouldn't be running again for the co-chair. He's not leaving us as far as the consortium goes, but he will be stepping down from his leadership. So we will be looking for a new co-chair position for our physical committee. I'm accepting nominations now. If you have any interest in that or would like to nominate somebody, please let me know. Elections will be part of our November virtual face-to-face event. So like I said, with the changes to the charter now, any member, from, the consortium can be, so all the design firms and whatnot can also be nominated, but that doesn't mean that utility member can't be either. So again, any interest in that or any questions about it or anything, feel free to reach out to me. And like I said, I'm collecting those nominations and we'll see what we'll have an election in November. So any questions or comments on that? Okay, so I'll move on to our fall virtual face-to-face event. So hopefully you got to earmark your calendars for November 2nd through the 4th. Just like in May, it'll be 11 to 5 Eastern time. We will plan a happy hour for the whole consortium at the end of that as well. So if you have the time and can stay around and would like to chat, that will be important part of it. Registration is up on the website. I know I had a little bit of trouble earlier in the week with the registration, just the site getting updated and whatnot, but it seems to be working now for me. Actually bring it up for you guys so you can see it. So kind of on the home page, you guys click 2021 events, and here's the registration for the fall event. Kind of self-explanatory for registration. So I encourage you guys all to get out there and register. Let others in your organizations know that this is up. Emails weren't really going to go out, so this is going to be, kind of, whisper down the lane, so to speak. I'll remind you guys when I send out, any emails and whatnot, send out notes for this for our meeting, that it's up here. But please go and register. Again, the calendar and stuff that we had, if you were familiar from our May event, will be up at some point, with all the presentations and whatnot. They will be recorded, all that stuff. Again, it'll be over Zoom, so using your Zoom license that Power has provided to us. Thank them again. So it will be a Zoom meeting. Like I said, all the recordings, they'll get posted later, just like the May event. So it should look and run hopefully very similar to the May event if you were able to attend that. As far as topics go, I want to have some discussion around that, but recently I've been meeting with a couple folks, and a couple folks have reached out to me. Do have some things that have added to our list. Again, we're kind of really hoping to spotlight the project spotlight. So I had some others join in a little bit on that. Again, I encourage you guys to, you're working on something, working on whether it's a pilot project, advanced project, whatever it may be, come show us. And, it doesn't have to be a long presentation, it can be a short presentation. Just kind of show us what you're working on, maybe where you're at, whatnot. We'd like to hear from you. I think it's a way, maybe even if, for the managers out there, for your groups to, get some recognition from the rest of the community that maybe some of the hard work that they're putting in on that. So I encourage you that if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out to me. I kind of give you maybe a little bit more detail and tell you what we've done on some of those and whatnot. So you can kind of see the list of what I got so far as confirmed stuff. I did want to have an open discussion with everybody here to, kind of get some feedback on some topics that you're looking for. So I'm kind of really looking for, maybe some beginners. So I don't know who all we have on the call as far as, where, we have some beginners out there, I'd like to still, show some stuff for, maybe stuff that we've talked about in the past, but, we have new members all the time, whatnot. So, whereas some of those beginning ideas and topics that maybe some of those folks are out, and, again, maybe some advanced stuff, maybe some, stuff that, down the road, people can look forward to that you're playing around with, working on. And we always like to incorporate Vault in amongst topics that we do. So really looking for a Vault topic. We have a little Vault topic for today, but looking for a Vault topic. So I'm going to open it up right now and, give me your, let me see what kind of ideas you guys got. By no means am I, you're committing to, help out with the presentation. If you want to, that would be great. But I'm willing to do almost anything I can in there, or, try and find somebody that can fill in if I can't. So just looking for ideas out there. So anybody have anything or thoughts on the matter?
Hey, Josh, this is Alex Pulse. I right now I don't have any topics off the top of my head that I want to talk about, but I can definitely talk with some other folks who are interested in going and come up with some stuff and send it to you, send some ideas over.
Yes, that's fine. Anybody else that, same boat, feel free to send me those ideas and stuff. But like I said, just looking, where's, anybody, challenged at or would like to get some more information on, that maybe we can center around a discussion presentation around, kind of maybe presentation / discussion type thing.
Hey, Josh, this is Mark. I'm going to reach out to a couple of folks in my group and see if I can get somebody to do maybe a beginner topic. We did finish up our spotlight project from the spring. We finished up the Malden Hill project. So I'm gonna do a spotlight on that just as a follow-up to our issue for construction package. But yeah, I'll see what I can find, see who I can find to do maybe a short presentation.
Yeah, and again, presentation, your ideas don't have to be, full length hour. Was that, I think I interrupted somebody.
You did. So
I saw in the chat we had, Vault topic as a revision block autofill. That's a, decent one. I don't know if anybody's really worked on any of that off the top of my head. Played around a little bit with that. So, but yeah, we'll see what we can incorporate there. Any other ideas, especially on Vault? What are Anybody having any trouble, challenges with Vault on anything in particular, or like to see more of benefits of Vault? I don't know.
Josh, this is Alex again. I myself am no expert in Vault at all. So even the like most basic of stuff, I'm all about seeing any kind of presentations on. It's just not something that I personally have gotten too involved with. So definitely interested in just the beginner stuff as it relates to Vault.
Yeah. Hey, Josh, this is Mark. Copy design has always been a very good tool. That's a Vault tool. Maybe a presentation in copy design would be beneficial for a lot of folks, especially the newer version. It's a little bit different format. They've got different ribbons, and we just transitioned from 18 to 2020. So I'm sure 2022 even has even more stuff. So.
Yeah, it's always good, and keep in mind with this stuff, we can reach out kind of like to Autodesk as well to help maybe find a Vault expert, Vault guru for some of this stuff. So I'll probably hit them up on a couple of these things, but no, this is good. Exactly what I was looking for. I'm writing down the ones. I see a couple of you guys in the chat and stuff, so I got your stuff down as well.
Hey Josh, just a random question.
Yeah.
Is everybody specifically using Pro, or do some of y'all use Basic? Because we use both, and there's advantages you can get from both. Just curious if around the table everybody's using Pro only or what.
I'll start the answer. I'll say we're only using Pro. We're on Pro.
Yeah, Duke's on Pro.
Riverside's on Pro.
Yeah, we're using Pro also.
Yeah, we're Pro as well.
So it sounds like mostly Pro to your question, Jason.
No, that's fine. I was just checking. So, the main reason, obviously, one's got a cost, one doesn't. And, we have about 300 users on Basic and about 20 on Pro. So just to be economical with it, that's all.
Anybody else got anything? Anything else related as far as topics or anything on for our November event? Yeah, I know I'm still waiting. I'm still reaching out to a few people. I'm still waiting for to have some better discussions with some folks I know out there. It's a good one. Access, to consultants. I know we've talked about that in the past, and that kind of changes what version, or has changed over the years, what version. There's been stuff around that. I know in the past. So some good stuff. Again, feel free to keep loading in the chat. I'll keep trying to grab the ideas and writing them down here on my notes. And if you have anything after this meeting, or talk to other people on your team and have anything, feel free to email me, reach out to me, and whatnot. And we like to have a jam-packed on agenda when it comes to these face-to-face all our events. So trying to fill it as best I can with a vast variety of topics. So please reach out to me with anything that you got. So I'll move on to Steve. I know, Steve, I heard you on the call here, so maybe you can expand on this, but I copied in what you had sent me. Steve had sent me that earlier this week, the version 8 release of the toolkit was available, and I think I copied in your link here to my stuff. It was working when I was doing that, and when I send this out to everybody, you should have the link to the release notes. But Steve, you want to comment or fill anybody in on this stuff?
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about it. I think you have another
thing going on with this meeting, so I don't want to take too much time. So we released the version 8 on Monday, and it's available. We have a couple big changes, and it says here in the list. And one is you're able to choose which database you want to use. You don't have to use the standard one or that single named one anymore. You can have it renamed and choose which one you want. So if you have a different operations, or if you have different customers that you want to use different databases for, you're able to do that pretty easily now. One thing to keep in mind, databases have to be writable too, right? You can't make them read only. And you need to have one database per user. You can't have using the same database across everybody. You can copy it and use it for others, but you need to have the single database still. Eventually, we will get to a point where we can have a single location for a database that everyone can read, but we're able to select it now. We had some demand for additional multiple flexible conductors. So we have some people using DC, and they got 3, 4, 6 run of conductors. So we're able to do that now. That's a big change. That's going to help those who are using that tool. We also cleaned up some issues we had with the software. So we're able to do that, do those changes. So Inventor 2022, we are not fully supporting that right now. I'll be posting a Q&A on Inventor 2022 on our knowledge base shortly, maybe today yet. And I'm just going to be talking about what the issue is. The main issue is that we are not able to place a part in the highest assembly properly, that it will go in the lowest common assembly, if you know the typical method of substation design suite. And this is an issue we have with Autodesk Inventor, and they are looking at how they can correct it. We believe it's an issue with their software, not with ours. And in doing that update to version 8, there's been several changes to the documents on our web page, on a knowledge base portal. So if you want to take a look at those and update, if you copy them out or if you want to review them. So we have about 9 documents there. The multi-cable MP4 video is not posted yet, and I'm not sure when that's going to get posted. It's complete. I'm just waiting for it to get posted. So we can talk about issues directly. I intend to have a webinar on this release or on parts of this release. So as an example, but I'm not sure when that webinar will be.
That was going to be one of my questions, Steve.
Well, I need to do one, right? So
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if you were going to do a separate webinar, or you were going to incorporate. I know we didn't kind of get together as far as, talking with, what you might want to show at the November face-to-face. So I didn't know if any of this was going to translate over or what.
Yeah, November is a little far away. I think a webinar on the version 8 release would be better to have earlier than that.
I thought so, but I didn't know what your schedule was like. I don't want to speak for you.
Well, that's my problem, right? Is
Yeah.
when I can book a webinar.
I will add one note for that Steve mentioned about that design data for the toolkit, being read only. I know that we keep ours. I keep a copy of ours in our vault, and basically it's there to take a copy out. You don't actually check it out. So when you only take a copy out, it becomes a read-only file on there, and you do have to go into properties and change that. So just word to the wise or something like that on that. That's kind of in our how we tell people where to place that file and stuff. In our stuff, we incorporated that as well into that, is making sure you unclick that read-only file as part of the properties when that. But that's all because of storing it in Vault that creates that.
Thanks, Josh. I I was going to do that, but I kind of chickened out. I was getting messages about this will break the links and therefore we cannot I forget what the message says, but I chickened out and stopped doing that. So if it's working, then I think I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to store a copy in the vault.
Yeah, like I said, we keep it in a file, under our, like reference stuff, and you just take a copy out of it, right click then, and Windows Explorer, make it non, that it's not
Yeah.
only uncheck the box, and then you can take it and place it in a location for that the toolkit's looking at that point.
Right. Do you have to change the name? Are you changing the name or just keeping the name the same?
I don't know what Steve, with the changes, Steve will have to expand on that, but in the past you had to keep it, as the default name that the toolkit is looking for. Yes.
Yeah.
And in version 8, it can be any name.
Any name?
As long as it has the extension, you can have it as any name.
Oh, okay.
But you'll need to select it in the tools.
Right.
And Steve, can you locate that file, or do you have to put it in a certain location?
In the new version, V8, it can be any location. It can be a network location or local to your machine. I'd recommend local to your machine, but it can be any location, any name, as long as you select it. And it's only in version 8 that we can do this.
Okay, so we could just leave it in Vault and do a get, and then it would place it in their local C drive then, if that's how you have your Vault set up.
As long as you make it read writable.
Right. Okay.
I'm sure that'll be a good one to actually show and whatnot in a webinar, Steve. Any other questions for Steve on the new version or anything? What we got him on it, and no more information to come. It looks like. Okay, and if there's anything, as far as future topics for Steve, I know he hasn't done a webinar here in a little bit. He's been busy, but if you have anything or anything you'd like to see from the toolkit, maybe we can incorporate that into our November virtual event. Reach out to Steve. You can include myself. Reach out to me, whatever it may be. I'll make sure it gets over to Steve, and we bug him. He does a great job with this stuff and whatnot. So. Glad to have them, and keep the ideas and whatnot coming.
I'd like to nominate Steve Kaufman for co-chair.
Nominate what? Sorry.
Mark's wants to nominate you for co-chair.
Oh, co-chair. I thought Jeremy Morton would be coming back for that to get the old tag team working again.
He actually joined us for the call. I don't know if he'll actually comment on that or not. So I'll move on. Moving on to Autodesk. I don't know, do I have Jack or anybody out there from Autodesk this month? I don't know if I don't see Jack on the call, so maybe not, but just a reminder, Autodesk University, again, is all virtual. It's in October, so next month. So it'll basically, next time we would talk here in our monthly meeting, it'll have already happened, whatnot on there. We will be picking up our office hours. Probably we're going to have one. We're supposed to have one as part of our November virtual event. And they'll be picking up afterwards. That I think we're probably going to go to bi-month, every other month on those. But anything you'd like to see as far as the Autodesk products and whatnot, feel free to let me know. We get a big, group of folks, that they pull in all the time for that stuff. So anything, you'd like to see, I'm going to probably hit them up here for some of these Vault topics that we talked about and whatnot, see if we can't get a Vault expert in a little bit on some of that stuff. But yeah, anything you have or any problems with the programs like that, let us know. They've been supporting us great here, especially recently on that. So let's keep them involved and keep feeding them stuff that they can show and help us out with. Any comments, questions on that stuff for Autodesk at this time? Okay. Again, as you have anything, feel free to reach out to me. So on to our show and tell time. So I don't really have per se a video. I have a couple a couple images that I've uploaded here. So recently I've been talking to a couple folks and we've been talking about Vault folder structure. A couple people new to Vault or whatever. So I thought I'd bring and do a little bit discussion, let the group talk on around this stuff, maybe how they have their Vault set up. Sounds like from before, talking, we have a bunch of people that have used Vault or are using Vault, I should say. So I'll kind of go through a couple of my pictures here, and then, we'll open it up here as a discussion type topic. So really, we're focusing on this discussion on folder structure. So, in a lot of cases, or at least from how we're using our Vault here, we have a standard library section, which kind of has all its library, all our model components, whether that's assemblies, parts, this or that, but kind of all standard model spot, and then we also have a documents spot, for all our documents, our manuals and maybe job aids that we may have. Keep, kind of in those documents, we keep, templates and all that kind of standard other stuff other than, like the models themselves. And then, kind of like we have working folders, where the work's actually being done, where the models are, the actually maybe submodels are saved, personal working folders. That's kind of like a basic rundown, is kind of, again, kind of what I'm showing in this image. My next image is a little bit more detail, and basically this is kind of a little bit look of, similar to how our Vault's set up with its folder structure and permissions to folders. So by having multiple folders, we have our blue admin. Basically, they have rights to everything here. They can write and delete to, those folders and stuff. And then we have, other folks that, whether they be employees or contractors, have some different rights. A lot is where, as you take here in the red in the reference, the only one that's really has access to do any modifications to the folder is the admin. But all our folks, all our other groups and stuff, they can see these folders and take copies out. So it's like taking copies of, work instructions, taking copies of templates out, that type of thing. You might be using different folders for different groups. So, we have a distribution group, transmission group using, they have storing and Vault using the capacity and doing some things for there. So, other groups, we have an employee section. Basically, there's a personal folder. So if you're working on, something, kind of, doing tinkering, or doing research and something, seeing if something works, some of the stuff that, I've worked on with iLogic, kind of an employee folder that they can work on. And, again, each employee sees their own folder. They don't see, everybody else's folder. So it's kind of like a private area, giving people some private storage. Kind of here in the substation, this is, what our folder would be, our standards or standard models and that kind of thing. So, broken down in subfolders. Again, admins have rights to this, but for the most part, the other, when you get into the standard models and stuff, your groups, just have read access to it and they could see it. And maybe like where the completed substations, and in this example, the completed substation, again, we're keeping those, within our company. So, admin, again, rights, they can do all this stuff, but only our employees can actually view this folder and stuff that you may have. And then, kind of the work in progress folder, again, having individual folders basically for the various folks to work on. So this is now where it's not just the admin that have rights to these. You have your company, your own company can, your internal people have access to the folder and do all their work. And then you, of course, you know, you're outside, your contractors, and they can't see each other's folders, so to speak. It's just, you know, for them to see. But of course, your internal people can, you know, if they have to review or whatever, help out for whatever reason on contract, they can see and have some access to these folders. That's kind of, you know, like I said, we control a lot of ours, you know, subfolders, and we can discuss some more individual questions here. You know, when I open up here in a second to you guys out there, but here's a kind of more basic diagram for when I had up there showing. And the only other thing I'll touch on here quick, and before opening up to questions and other comments for people, is coming up with a standard folders type for your actually project. So this is kind of like a screenshot from our documentation that we had in the past of, you know, okay, this is a submodel. Here's the submodel, you know, it's got its own folder and whatnot. You can see, you know, the main two files here, you know, the overall and our skeleton, and then we break down everything kind of in its own folders. And the idea here is every substation, regardless of size, configuration, whatever it is, will have the same folder structure. I think it's good to maintain. It's why that way any person that's using, you know, working on your models knows where to go for certain models to look at certain things without having to check out the entire model to work on, because you maybe have multiple people working on it, multiple projects going on, whatever it may be on it. So it's good to come up with a standard folder for your actual substation models themselves. You know, you don't want to just dump everything in one folder and have all this stuff. That's a ton of files to keep track of and sort out. It's good to have, you know, some breakdown of folders so that you can find, you know, the smaller parts in that model. So I'll open up the questions, comments on that. Again, you know, some people are, you know, interested in, I know some people out there have been talking about this and wanting to get some information. So there's probably some questions out there and whatnot. So I'll shut up and you guys have.
I've done a different approach. You're organizing by folder structure. I come up with a naming convention so that I don't have to have a folder. So I have two separate folders, one for all the, you know, parts and low level assemblies. They all go into one folder. And higher level assemblies, I have five different tier levels of assemblies, and those go into another folder. So actually I only have two folders, but they're all controlled by naming convention.
Are you talking about per like your project, or are you talking about, you know, entire for like a, you know, your standards folder and stuff on that?
So projects to me is our facilities. We have hundreds of facilities. So yeah. Each facility has its own folder. We do have, it's based on application because we use more than just Inventor. We have Revit and Civil 3D and all that too. So we have a folder structure for depending on which application you're using. And then it drills down to that sort of a folder structure. But once we get into Inventor, then I use a naming convention for the file names to control, to organize. It's a little different approach, but it works for us.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think each one of us, as far as, you know, our companies, you're going to have your own kind of approach and what you do on that. I think from, you know, a common theme that I've talked to folks is, you know, like what Dennis said, you know, out there, that you have a, you know, a folder for your facility, for your substation, whatever it may be, and, you know, whatever's under it then, but you have for each one of those locations, you have a folder basically. To keep that all separate. It also goes with the idea. I know a bunch of us out there are, you know, that everything for that substation, you know, model or what have is unique to that substation. It's not being shared between multiple substations. So, basically under that folder that you would have, under this here, all the pieces that make up that model. There's nothing outside of this folder, so to speak, that make up that model.
And then Josh, in that list of folders you have in the bottom there, you'd have subfolders in there for some of those, like for structures, you'd add subfolders for different types of structures.
In some cases we do, like I think for some of the larger ones, like maybe cables or something, we might actually have, broken up by bays or something like that. So yeah, that's plenty. Again, it's kind of how do you want to be organized? How much do you want to be organized on that? But yeah, by any means, I just pulled this one from, some documentation that we had to pull that image from. By no means is that per se complete.
And then some stations, you may have additional folders in there just because it's a specialty situation. So this isn't necessarily static. There is some flexibility in it.
There's a little flexibility. For the most part, this covers everything. You might have, like you said, maybe some additional folders for, GI. I'll give you, we have a couple of subs that are GIS. So, the kind of GIS equipment maybe separately or something like that. That warrant folders or not, but in the same point and stuff, they might kind of fall in here, and we have folders in the browser of the model. It's broken in the model its actual self.
I like that you got that sandbox one. What you call it, the employee one? I would call it a sandbox. I like that idea.
Yeah, I mean I've really. I don't know how much of our, various members of, our team have used that. I know I've used it heavily as far as, when I've in kind of like in development of something. That way I can kind of have it there and don't have to worry about somebody playing around with it or, seeing it when I'm not, done with it or what have you. So, and it's just a good environment. I have, a bunch of like test assemblies in there for various different things that I've tested over the years. On that, but yeah, it's a nice little place to have for you to work on.
Hey Josh, I see you have multiple consultants in the working documents and your standards, as well as the substations. How do you control who gets access to what? I mean, do you set that up through permissions, or is it open? You just basically have open door.
Between groups, we have, we use, the groups in Vault, that, maybe for a consultant, we might have, 3 people say that, from that consultant that have access to our Vault. Well, they go into, they go into a group, and so we can give access, and then, through security rights, to folders, change security rights. So a lot of it is locked down as far as, for most users, they can see a bunch of stuff, but they can't actually access it, as far, they can get copies of it, but they can't actually change any of the stuff that's actually there in Vault. But that's all called, between the combination of groups and security rights to folders.
Yeah, I get it. So basically, when you have your consultants working on various projects, say you had 4 different consulting groups working in there, they're only going to see the substations that they're working on. They're only going to have, well, I should say access, but they can see the other work. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and we even started, we're playing around with the idea of making, project groups. So like, a project comes in at substation A, we'll make a group for substation A that it might include, both internal and external, a couple other people, on the teams and stuff, but we'll create a group for them just for that project and stuff, and, change securities on it. So we're really trying to mess it, play around with that. But for the most part, at the end of the day, it's being controlled through, groups and security permissions.
Yeah, that's how we're handling it. We're basically setting up specific project groups for each design, and then they have access, of course, to the library so they could get materials and stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to per se lock it down at first, give, not give a large group right access to this stuff and add as you go, from what we found. So it's easier to lock it down. You do have to kind of watch as far as, anybody that's an admin as you're moving, if you're moving folders around, to make sure that those security settings are set correctly. We had a little bit of trouble with that in the beginning. Nothing major. It was one of those things where, it's like, okay, I gave you access to this and it didn't copy over the permissions, or I didn't adjust the permissions from what initially I had it at and stuff. But it's a minor inconvenience.
You said you have, like, we have a primary and then a secondary contact for access from each of the consultant groups. Is that, do you limit that, or how many spaces do you actually give each group?
I don't know that I think we limited it I know in the beginning we limited because, when we started with this stuff, and again, kind of mentioned a little bit, when you talk about, vault access for, consultants and stuff in the beginning, when we started, we had to actually provide a vault license to the outside, folks. It was actually our vault license that they needed to access our vault. That has changed. It doesn't have to be your vault license. They can access it through their own vault license on that. But we limit it only because we allow, the way we're set up here is the people that have access, from, consultants and stuff that have access to our vaults actually have an employee number. So they get a, contract employee number through that. They have to go through a whole thing for that and set up in our system. They need to be set up in our system in order to gain access, for us to actually add them in the vault. So it's just kind of how our company's set up in that regard. So we only limit that because we didn't want to give, contract employee numbers out to, 50 people at a contract. We have, main people that handle all that documentate, moving and grabbing parts for, a different consultant to have access to that.
Yeah, that's how we have it set up. You have to be a contingent worker in order to access. So.
Yeah, because you have to go through different things to have, to make sure you're up on training with your FERC and NERC stuff, and all that comes into play when it comes to that stuff. So that's why it's limited. Any other questions, comments on it? I know I kind of just gave a quick overview of this stuff. So if you want to see more or talk more about it, let me know. I know I didn't actually bring up our vault and stuff, but I can show it in a little bit more detail if you want to have, if anybody wants to have a follow-up conversation and stuff about it. And whatnot, I can show maybe, or if anybody's curious about any of the things that we talked about here, I can maybe show in a little bit detail, in something else. Okay, if nobody has anything else, I hope, that for, the folks out there who are asking or, curious about some of this stuff, give them some insight and maybe some things to think about. Again, there's multiple ways to do this. Kind of, like I said, I showed a little bit more example of what we have. Some people have similar things, some people, using it a little bit differently. There's no right or wrong way. I think it's really how it suits your company on that stuff. But I think it's important to have, like something like this that we talked about, some kind of consistency on it when it comes definitely to your individual projects, or, in this case, location, substations, whatever, how you may feel to have it, so that they're all consistent, so that all your folks can easily access or kind of know what they have by that stuff. So I'll move on. Website. Again, kind of, I sent out a note this morning about the registration through the website. So all those, logged into there should hopefully see that. The August meeting was uploaded to YouTube. So if you missed last month's meeting, that is up on our YouTube channel. I think I even noted, I think I did this before our last meeting, but the iLogic rules from the brownfield bomb that we had back in May, I uploaded those to the website as well. So they're available. That you can copy out the code on that. If you not sure what I talked about there on for this iLogic, that presentation was in May and is out there on the website as well. So you could catch that presentation, and like I said, the codes behind there and whatnot are there for you guys to play around with, use, and take advantage of, add to, whatever it may be. That's really on the website. That's for the most part all I had. So I don't know if there's any toolkit discussion anybody else wants to have any further than what we talked about earlier, or challenges and hurdles, any other new business I might have in. So just kind of open it up to the floor. Anybody have anything?
There's one thing, when I installed it, I noticed that when you select your default templates, like your part file template and your assembly part file or assembly file, so those default templates, you will have to go in and change the properties to read write, uncheck the box, right, of read only, or otherwise you get this a warning every time you open up an Inventor. You'll get a warning, 2 warnings, one for the part file, one for the assembly file. But if you uncheck the box and the properties of those 2 default files, that'll eliminate that pop-up.
You gotta watch out for that read-only thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had an issue with read-only with several customers, and we had, some users had things set as even locked, which is similar to read-only, but it really caused issues trying to troubleshoot that. And I just want to note with the toolkit, if the consortium has a membership saying that they would like a specific tool or like a change, and the consortium says that as a group, it makes a lot more influence on our decisions on what gets changed in the toolkit. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that.
Yep, and this is a great forum, our monthly meeting, to bring those ideas to life. If you think of anything, in the meantime, feel free to tag Steve or email me. I'll make sure the folks at SBS get it, or we'll bring it up in a meeting, a monthly meeting on those ideas. We've done a lot in that in the past and looked at various things. I know Steve's surveyed the group from time to time on different things as they come up, and looking for ideas or exactly how to handle one things or whatnot. So a lot of our input over the years has gone into the toolkit, and for those of us that have been using it for a while, I've definitely seen that. Anybody have anything else? No? Okay, that was all I had for this month. Some good discussion. We had one of our larger meetings, so I thank everybody out there for attending. I hope you got some stuff out of it, and hope to keep hearing from you. Again, if you have anything that you think about in between, some of the stuff that, stuff for November, stuff for, future stuff from SBS, Autodesk, whatnot, reach out to me. I'll see what, I can put together on that or answer. And, always here for, if you want to talk anything, 3D vault related, anywhere. I know I met with a couple people recently on that. So I'm always here to willing to help. So, anything that comes up that you have over there and just general questions and whatnot, get a hold of me. And hey, even if you just want to chat, get a hold of me. Don't mind at all on that, and stuff helps my day go along sometimes. for a break. So, but thanks everybody. That's all I had. Have a good rest of your day and good rest of your week.
Thanks, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
See you, everybody.
Thank you.